So, what if the answer to mass automation isn't what we all think it is? What if it's not about socialism, but about a kind of supercharged capitalism? Today, we're going to dive into a pretty surprising, market-friendly argument for what some are calling post-labor economics.
It all kind of starts with this number, $100 billion. Now, to get a sense of the scale we're talking about, just imagine a fund this massive, something that figures like Jeff Bezos are reportedly looking into.
And this fund would have one simple, world-changing goal: buy up major manufacturing companies. We're talking aerospace, chip making, and then just systematically replace all the human workers with AI and automation. Yeah, this isn't some sci-fi theory. It's a huge bet on a future with a lot fewer jobs.
Which brings us to the giant paradox at the heart of our economy right now. I mean, think about it. For a free market to work, you need people to make stuff, and you need people to buy stuff. So if AI automates all the making, but nobody has a job and no wages to do the buying, how does the whole system not just grind to a halt? Okay, so to understand the proposed solution here, we first have to get our heads around the fact that the old economic model is, well, it's showing some serious cracks. For generations, the deal was simple. Companies get more productive and workers get paid more. But it looks like that deal is off the table.
That core relationship, the one that tied your paycheck to your company's success, has basically decoupled. For decades now, they've been drifting further and further apart.
And this chart, wow, it just lays it all out there, doesn't it? Just look at that gap. Across 24 developed nations, productivity has absolutely skyrocketed, but real wage growth, it's basically flatlined. In fact, labor's share of the entire economic pie is shrinking in 2/3 of those countries. The gains just aren't flowing to the workers anymore. So here's the bottom line. The old thinking was, hey, when we get more productive, we pay our workers more, and then they can buy all the new stuff we're making. But the new reality is that all those productivity gains are flowing to capital, to the owners of the machines, and not to labor. And that creates a very real risk of consumer demand just completely collapsing.
And this is where post-labor economics, or PLE, comes in. It offers a really simple way to think about this problem, and it comes from a surprisingly conservative, market-based place. According to PLE, every dollar that comes into a household comes from one of just three places. It's either a wage from a job, a government transfer, like welfare, or it's a return on capital you own, stocks, bonds, that sort of thing. That's it. Those are the only three buckets.
Now, this is where the logic gets really interesting. The traditional conservative view has always been that wages are king. But the PLE argument goes like this. If automation is killing wages, and if you're a conservative who fundamentally rejects big government welfare programs, well, by a simple process of elimination, that only leaves one bucket, capital. It has to become the new cornerstone.
You might be thinking this all sounds pretty abstract, but guess what? It's already happening. There are real-world, long-running examples of this exact idea, and they've often been pushed by folks on the political right.
Take this number, $1,702. That's roughly how much money every single resident of Alaska, every man, woman, and child, got in a recent year. It wasn't a paycheck and it wasn't welfare, it was a dividend. It comes from something called the Alaska Permanent Fund. It's a nearly $80 billion fund that was actually created way back in 1976 by a Republican governor. Here's how it works. The state takes its oil money, which it sees as a shared resource, invests it, and then pays out the returns directly to its citizens. It's a super successful, decades-old model of universal capital income.
And here's another, more recent idea. $1,000. Imagine this being deposited into an account for every child born in America.
There's a proposed policy, sometimes called Trump accounts, and sponsored by prominent Republicans, that would do just that. It would give every young child a tax-advantaged investment account, starting with a $1,000 deposit. The principle here is pretty clear. Make everyone an owner, right from birth.
So, why is this idea of spreading capital around gaining so much steam on the right? Well, it's because it actually lines up perfectly with a few core conservative principles.
So the argument goes like this. First, it creates a true ownership society, giving everyone a real stake in the market's success. Second, it keeps businesses healthy by making sure customers actually have money to buy things. And third, it could potentially starve the welfare state by making it less necessary. Now, of course, this brings up some huge questions, like where does all that initial money come from? And how do you manage it all without causing massive inflation? But for its supporters, the big prize is that they see it as a powerful antidote to socialism.
And this quote right here just nails the whole ideological argument.
Where socialism wants to seize the means of production for the government, this idea wants to do the exact opposite. It wants to give a piece of the means of production to every single citizen. Essentially, it's about making everyone a capitalist.
Because the alternative, they argue, is this: a deflationary death spiral. Think it through. Mass automation leads to mass layoffs. People without paychecks stop spending money. Then businesses fail, the market crashes, and pretty soon you have widespread social instability. This is the exact market failure that PLE is designed to stop before it starts.
Okay, so as this massive economic shift keeps rolling, what are the key things we should all be keeping an eye on?
All right, 3 big things to watch. First, any major new investment funds focused on automation. They really force the conversation. Second, keep track of any proposals for baby bonds or youth investment accounts. That's kind of the proof of concept for this whole idea. And finally, keep your eyes peeled for the next OECD report on labor's share of income. If that number keeps dropping, the pressure to find an alternative like this is only going to grow.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating question. For centuries, the big fight has been over how to divide up the profits from human labor. But if machines start doing most of the work, the fight changes. It becomes about who owns the machines. Socialism says the state should own them. Post-labor economics says everyone should. Is this the idea that saves the free market from itself?